you guys absolutely destroyed the like button on part 2. So here's part 3. I hope you guys enjoy. But before I continue on, I just want to say I'm about to ramble. So for those of you that don't care, you could just skip the video to like a minute or something. But I just wanted to say, guys, quickly, for those of you who actually stayed, I looked at the comment section for part 1 and I realized something pretty crazy, actually. And it's that a lot of you guys actually did want Naruto to have a lot of an easier life. I think it comes without saying that a lot of us seeing Naruto live his, his childhood life and seeing him get shunned by the village kind of hurt us, because I feel like to some degree, many of us have probably experienced a little bit of what that feels like, whether it's the popular kids in elementary school not liking you, whether it's you feeling like you're not getting enough attention from your parents or your fatherly figures or something like that, or whether it's just from anything else like bullying or something. I feel like we would all like to just go back and have just this perfect childhood, which Naruto now gets to live. And I feel like even if that isn't the case, even just knowing that Naruto had such a hard life, we all kind of just subconsciously wished he had it better, knowing how great of a guy Naruto is. So when it comes to all the people saying, yeah, Naruto should have had this life, I 100% agree with you guys. And with the other one of you guys saying that this series is super goated, I just want to quickly tell each and every single one of you guys, thank you so much for your constant support. It truly means the world to me. And I just genuinely appreciate it so much when you guys go out of your way and tell me things like that. It actually makes my day, and it makes making these what ifs actually quite enjoyable. You know what I mean? But with all that out of the way, enjoy.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
Okay, so we start the story off in the perspective of Naruto jumping from tree branch to tree branch. Sasuke and Sakura would be following closely behind him, as Naruto would have actually ended up being the one who's at the front due to that of Sasuke's plan. Sasuke would have decided that instead of splitting up in each one of them to actually try to go after their own individual scrolls and try to see how many they can get, he decided, you know what, let's just head straight towards the tower, and whoever we end up encountering on our journey there, we'll pick their pockets. Hopefully they have the scroll, and that'll be the way that we get through this entire Chunin exam test, right? And Naruto actually likes that idea, because looking back at it after becoming a Hokage, he realized that that's actually the smartest plan that they could have truly came up with. Now, Sasuke knows this to be the case due to courtesy of his older brother Itachi, who might have just slipped a little bit of, how to make the test a little easier for his younger brother, right? And I think that a lot of older brothers, if you guys are out there, can agree that we enjoy making lives easier on our younger brothers by giving them those tips and tricks that we wish we had when we were young. So, I think Itachi, even though they live in a different world, would still kind of, being the person that he is, give Sasuke a little bit of an edge over everybody else, right? Naruto would know to avoid Gaara at all costs at this moment, seeing as Gaara would most likely try to kill them. And Naruto doesn't feel like having to fight some bloodlusted Gaara, even though it would be easy, but he just doesn't feel like having to have that interaction with Gaara any earlier than he should. And he thinks that, you know what, I think it should be a little different. And so Naruto and his squad would actually end up making their way towards the Chunin Tower. And just like I was saying, I think that the team would, generally speaking, end up actually finding another team to pick off. And I think that it would actually be pretty easy for Team 7 to actually take the scroll off of another team. They end up doing so using the extra manpower that they get, not manpower, but overall power that they have as an individual group. Because this time around, Sakura is still going to be just as weak as usual. However, Sasuke is going to be a lot more developed in terms of his strength levels, because he had his father Itachi and I was about to say Suigetsu, but no, Shisui to actually be there as mentors for him and to guide Sasuke along his path as a ninja. And Naruto would pretty much already be as broken as you can get. Just pretty much being able to have the chance to work on his power a lot longer than he's going to have, in this previous life. Because keep in mind, Naruto, by the time that he was near his passing, I think would have already like been regressing and not really been too strong. But when it comes to his wisdom, that would be like the only saving grace that Naruto would have. Is kind of what I think Naruto would kind of be like once he's old and like on his deathbed and stuff like that. But regardless though, what pretty much ends up happening and what I like to just think is going to be the 100% case is essentially that pretty much, okay, I'm confusing myself, but pretty much they end up taking the scroll and they make their way towards the Chunin Tower, right? I think that that's just pretty basic. And when it comes to how much time it took them to do it, I generally speaking want to say that they're actually going to be beating the time that Minato would have had in his version. So they would have actually broken the record of Gaara and also Minato and Itachi's record when it comes to the Chunin exams time. And once they're at the tower, they would actually be there with minor scratches and stuff like that. So not undamaged like Gaara, but you know, a little bit different, right? And so what pretty much I want to actually have happen is essentially during the Chunin exams, they have a 2-day waiting period where because they got there soon, they were actually rewarded with 2 days of rest, unlike the other contestants that will be taking place in the Chunin exams. And when it comes to who gets passed, I'm going to be saying that Zabuza Haku do, as well as everybody else in the main canon timeline. And we're going to be saying that they still have the preliminary battles, just because this time around there would actually be a couple more members that would actually end up passing the Chunin exams portion of the whole thing, right? And what I'm going to be saying happens here is essentially the battles would go just like you guys would probably be expecting. When it comes to the first battle that Naruto's going to have to face off against, I was actually about to say that it's going to be Kiba, but I don't want to make it Kiba just because at that point I'm just repeating history and this what if it's kind of boring. So instead, I'm actually going to be having Naruto face off against Haku in a fair 1v1 battle. And the way that actually, no, I don't want to do that. I actually would prefer if Naruto actually fought against Gaara, because Naruto wants to prevent Lee from getting his arm and leg broken, and he thinks that Haku would actually be a better matchup. Or let's say like Sasuke, or no, not Sasuke. Let's say that anybody else except for him. Let's say Neji. Neji is going to be the one facing off against Lee. And I think that battle would actually be pretty cool. I think it would be really awesome to see how Lee's hard work eventually ended up outcompeting Neji's raw natural talent, and Neji kind of having to come to terms with the fact that Rock Lee is actually stronger than him, even after Neji having had beat him so many times in the past. Now with Lee actually being able to access the third gate and completely shred on the competition, aka Neji. And what I'm overall going to be having happen here is pretty much that what I want to have happen is Naruto would go on to face off against Gaara. Now, how would Naruto do this? Naruto's going to be using his insane speed and pretty much matching alongside the levels of a second gate Lee, with Naruto using his overall crazy speed and his smartness and knowing how Gaara fights to actually evade and counter many of the attacks that Gaara would have used. Naruto this time around smartly would use a couple of water jutsus to actually cause the sand to be a lot harder to control for Gaara, and this would be something that would slow the sand down significantly for Naruto's second gate Lee kind of speed-esque thing to actually be able to keep up with Gaara and defeat him. This is always something that I've thought about because obviously sand is a lot harder and like heavier when it's wet. So I always thought that, couldn't you technically defeat Gaara by being a water style user? I always thought about it like that. Comment down below if you guys think that's how it works or if I'm just tweaking right now. But that's how we're going to be assuming that it works for this what if, so that doesn't really matter. But regardless, what pretty much ends up happening here is Naruto and Gaara fight. It starts, Naruto begins bombarding Gaara, and eventually Gaara decides to whip out his ultimate barrier defense. And once this happens, Naruto's like, okay, I don't really have too many moves to actually do something against this. I guess I'm gonna be having to, throw a really powerful punch and add my real strength in the middle of it, right? So what does Naruto do? He picks up a massive amount of smoke into the air and dirt and stuff like that. And while Gaara's inside of the thing, Naruto would throw a mean punch into the thing, and Gaara would pretty much end up getting like hurt pretty badly, to the point where Gaara would go crazy, and like he doesn't get bleed this time around, mind you, but he does actually get punched really, really hard. Like, how would you guys feel if some dude just straight bang, like straight to your face? Like, I feel like I'd be getting pretty mad, like regardless of whether the dude made me bleed or not. Like, it hurts. And Naruto has Gaara absolutely hurting right now. And so, you know, the dude's like, yo, I'm not about to let this slide. So Gaara retaliates by pretty much trying to go bizarre and crazy. And once he activates his tailed beast transformation thing, he would not actually try to run away, because this time around there's no such thing as the crush of Konoha arc. And so this is not even a requirement. Gaara actually tries to face off against Naruto. But because there isn't no rule that you can't use your tailed beast's powers, considering Naruto was allowed the QB cloak partial transformation, I'm going to be saying that Gaara is still allowed to continue fighting Naruto. And Naruto is going to be getting outclassed by Gaara ever so slightly at the beginning, until he starts to use his strategic mind to actually make a plan to take out Gaara rather quickly. What would Naruto do? He uses a smoke bomb, which would actually cloud Gaara's view. Naruto creates a clone, and when Gaara would actually end up getting the clone and making it look like he defeated him, aka killed him, the clone would turn into nothing but smoke, and Naruto would pop up being the real him, as he would appear behind Gaara and hit him in a very, very vital spot that would actually knock Gaara out completely, and everybody would be watching in complete awe. Zabuza, Haku, Sasuke, Kakashi, and everybody else who would be watching in tow would be extremely impressed by Naruto's performance, and it would be just a pretty cool Chunin exams battle. Seeing as this time there's not going to be no high stake things exactly, I figured that I would at least treat you guys to a decently cool battle. But what happens after this, it's actually going to be just as cool, if not more. But pretty much now we're actually going to be getting access to that of what are we going to be getting access to actually? Haku versus, who should Haku face off against? Sorry guys, let me just like adjust my mic again. I was like kind of like slouching over on my chair, but now I decided to actually fix my posture. But who should Haku face off against? I think that Haku facing off against Zabuza would be kind of a cool thing, just because they're really the only two people who could realistically combat each other. And I think that just seeing Haku actually defeat Zabuza and cement himself as the stronger of the two in front of everybody would be something cool to watch. So I think I'm actually going to be going with Haku versus Zabuza, and I think that Haku would ultimately begin winning, but because Haku just doesn't have it in him to actually fight Zabuza afterwards, he would kind of just let himself lose, just to, because like, you know, like Zabuza means the world to Haku, you know what I mean? I picture the battle starting between some taijutsu exchanges and Haku creating an ice sword, which is something that I always just assumed Haku could do, and being able to actually clash against Zabuza using this ice crystal like transformation sword thing, right? And their taijutsu clash eventually leading that to ninjutsu attacks. Zabuza would whip out a water dragon like attack, and Haku would actually end up creating an ice barrier which would stop it. And I think that afterwards we would just get Haku, how do I put this, pretty much beginning to display his Ice Kick Genkai abilities to that of their uppermost levels, right? To the point where Zabuza would actually get caught off guard more than he would like to admit, and he would begin to be on the back foot. However, once Haku realizes that he's kind of just gonna like do Zabuza dirty, he's like, you know what, like, no, it's not even worth it. Like, he just begins to start acting tired and just let Zabuza win. Zabuza knows what he did, and he would actually thank Haku after the match. And this is a very strong but, I think that he would ultimately tell Haku that he should always fight at his best, and that holding back for the sake of somebody he cares about, or if holding back just because he cares about him, is actually disrespectful. That he knows Haku would have won, and as long as he knows that and Haku didn't exactly try to keep it a secret from him, it's fine, but don't ever do that again, right? And I think Haku would like understand him, and therefore Haku would move on, and Zabuza would actually be one to fail. And you know, Zabuza goes up to the stage, and I mean the stands, and would be right next to Kakashi as Kakashi talks to him, and he's like, that student of yours is way too powerful. And you know, Zabuza's like, yeah, Haku has tons of potential, and very soon he'll surpass even you. with Kakashi being like, I think he already has. And from here, we would just get a scene between, everybody who passed, pretty much being told about the next and real final battles of the Chunin exams, which would then lead to the 1 month time skip. And during this time, Naruto would be so happy. Like, I genuinely can't explain to you guys how happy Naruto's gonna be, because it's been years since Naruto has seen his favorite person ever, Pervy Sage. Like, yeah, bringing Sasuke back was cool and all, and having that 3-year journey with Jiraiya was awesome as well, but being able to just see Jiraiya again after all these years, man, Naruto is just, he's ready. And Naruto's not going to be like saying nothing to Jiraiya. Naruto decides to go to the same hot springs he met Jiraiya at, and have that same interaction go just like it would have in the original. Naruto would still, turn into that, sexy jutsu transformation. Jiraiya still is just completely caught off guard, and Naruto gets to experience the memories that he has with Jiraiya in real time. Naruto gets once again to laugh with his sensei, to tell him about his last couple of years, to explain to Jiraiya how cool it's been to be in the village and have all of these different events that would have actually changed the Naruto timeline be just to such a benefit of the world, right? And I think that it's just generally going to just be an amazing experience for Naruto to be able to have Jiraiya with him again. Honestly, I don't think Naruto's going to be spending too much. Well, he is going to be spending a lot of time training, because that's mainly what he would do with Jiraiya. So scratch that. Naruto is going to be spending a lot of time training, and it's going to be extremely beneficial for Naruto. Like, a lot. By the way, guys, I just noticed that the angle of my microphone was a bit off. So if the last couple of minute or something was a bit quiet, I apologize for that deeply. But regardless, though, what pretty much ends up happening after this is Naruto and Jiraiya just have a cool time together, and eventually the final exam thing of the Chunin exams would finally end up coming up, right? The final battles. Naruto's first appointment is actually going to be Sasuke, and the person that Lee is actually going to have to face Haku. And I think that's a good battle overall. I think that Lee versus Haku is actually going to be pretty interesting, because Lee has that crazy speed and so does Haku. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Lee handles that, right? And getting to see Lee actually open the 4th gate is going to be kind of crazy too. Seeing as he didn't exactly open that in the first battle of the Chunin exams, that only happened later. That's going to happen later because he didn't have to fight against Gaara this time, and he only really needed the 3rd gate against Neji. But, I digress. What ends up happening here is we pretty much get Naruto and Sasuke step into the ring, and both of them kind of just smirking, thinking to themselves that this is about to be a crazy battle, and them both kind of acknowledging and having respect for one of the other. Now, this time around, Sasuke wouldn't have actually had the need to train alongside Kakashi, but he would learn the Chidori just because he would actually ask Kakashi how it's performed, and he would have actually spent about 4 days trying to learn the basics before going to train with Itachi, Shisui, and doing all of that, normal stuff that Sasuke would find himself doing, right? And what pretty much ends up happening after this is we're going to actually be getting a scene where, do you guys hear that? Like that really loud compressor noise? I don't know if you guys are actually going to be able to hear it, but I think it's like an airplane flying on top. So, again, if you guys hear that, sorry. But I'm just going to continue on with the recording and act like, it's not there, just to kind of distract myself and not have to re-record this entire part. So, yeah, bear with it, guys, bear with it. But pretty much what's actually going to be happening here is we're going to actually be getting a initial combat scene of Naruto and Sasuke, kind of like a homage to that of the rooftop fight, where they would start with basic hand-to-hand combat, Naruto whipping out shadow clones, Sasuke using the Sharingan, and both of them rushing in and just hand-to-hand clash, taijutsu with kunais and, fireball jutsus being thrown all over the place, and both of them, kind of showing respect to one another individually, with Naruto thinking that Sasuke is so strong, right? Like, if it wasn't for the fact that Naruto was reliving his life, that Sasuke probably would have immediately beat Naruto. But because Naruto already has all the powers that he would get in his life, that's not going to be happening anytime soon. Naruto would, I'm going to be saying, enjoy the battle, but ultimately I don't want to sit here and lie and act like this is even a high stakes battle, considering we all know what's going to happen. But Naruto can't exactly reveal that quite yet, so it would look like a very much so stalemated like battle, very much so, up until the very ending, where Naruto decides to let Sasuke have his moment to shine and actually defeat Naruto himself, with Naruto letting himself be defeated by Sasuke, and ultimately leading to Sasuke versus, I'm going to be saying, Haku. Now, the only reason that I'm going to be saying Haku is the one who would actually no, because I think that Fourth Gate Lee is actually way more powerful than One Cloak Naruto, so I don't think that even Haku's Crystal Mirrors jutsus are going to be putting up a candle. But because it is Fourth Gate Lee versus Sasuke, I'm not really too sure how this fight's really going to be panning out, because on one hand we have the argument of Fourth Gate Rock Lee isn't really that strong compared to this version of Sasuke, but I think that they're actually going to be bare bone equal this time around, and I'm really not sure what direction to take this battle. You guys take this into consideration. This time around, Sasuke actually has access to 2 Tomoe Sharingan in each eye respectively. He was training with Fugaku and his brother Itachi. They taught him a couple of jutsus. They ended up helping him work on his speed and combat prowess. He has access to that of the Chidori, doesn't have access to the curse mark or anything like that. Rock Lee is perfectly healthy and has a 4 gates, as well as a little bit more of a power amp because he actually had the month to train. So I want to leave it up to you guys to let me know who you guys think is actually going to be taking this battle. And with that being said, both people would actually get straight into the stadium with the proctor immediately saying, Hajime!